All right, we're here again with Brian White coming all the way from Nepal, and we'll talk more about Nepal in a second. But I wanted to start out, Brian, with a little quick story here. eFiber underscore Andre from some other country, I think Germany, says that Brandenburg is in talks with Tesla about, are you ready for this? Autonomous shuttles, something like that. They have ridges. They have ridges, right?
Shuttles have ridges. Yep, that's right.
So Brandenburg's transport ministry, Robert Krumbach, confirms that his ministry is currently in discussions with Tesla about driverless vehicles. The idea is that autonomous shuttles are to be integrated to the existing on-demand bus system in the future, especially in rural areas. He highlights a specific problem. In some regions, a regular bus doesn't run all day due to low demand or only twice a day. At the same time, there's a shortage of drivers. So using autonomous vehicles would be a solution for that. I'm not sure what he's talking about here, whether he's talking about a different form factor, like the robo-van or like a bus. But you had some news in Nepal about autonomous buses, or at least electric buses.
Electric buses. I'll talk about the Nepal buses in a minute, but first let me address this. So it's a great program. It exists in other places. It's just never been made autonomous. I've talked about it on my show. I don't know, maybe you and I have talked about it, but the idea is in a rural community, you still need transportation. You still need to provide for, the seniors or the teenagers or people who can't or shouldn't drive, whatever the case may be. So in my town, there's like 5 or 6 bus routes and they interconnect. They all go to the little transit station. You can get anywhere in town within a couple blocks, but it's going to take you like an hour and a half. You could walk there quicker than you could take the bus. It's insane. But for some communities have looked at saying, look, what if we don't offer buses? What if we just let them call up and ask for a ride and we'll take them, maybe not door to door, but close to it. And in some cases for those who require additional mobility, not necessarily all the way to a wheelchair ramp or lift, but for some of those, you could think of how much cheaper it would be, Randy, if my city, my little town, where the buses are never even half full, got rid of the buses and replaced them with a robo-van. The robo-van could not do those routes. It could just sit and wait for someone to hop on an app and say, I'd like route 3, please. Awesome, on my way. Pulls up, door opens, you get in, it takes you to your stop or maybe your destination. People would actually use that. And the cost, I don't know if you know this, Randy, but a city bus costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's not even the biggest expense. You've got diesel idling all day. You've got the wages, the salary of that driver. A bus system is very expensive. It would be cheaper. Now, of course, you don't want to make it so cheap that it's so convenient that everybody's using it instead of owning a car. But if that's the case, then you go back, if it's a high demand day, it just continues doing the route, the normal route. But if there's no one on the bus, stop driving. So for this community in Berlin and the outskirts of Berlin, the idea is that there's not enough people to actually run the routes, but we want them to be able to go. We want the farmers' kids to be able to actually get into town where there's a library or a store or whatever it may be, so they can do an on-demand system. I don't think they're talking about robo-van yet because it doesn't exist, but they could be talking about Cybercab, and they could definitely be talking about Model Y. How great would it be to say, look, this taxi, even if you hate it, was built right here by your neighbors. Let's approve it, shall we? I think that would be amazing.
So I decided to do a little more research on this. So I asked Grok, and it turns out that pretty much everything about a future or current robotaxi is better than a bus. So the buses,
Yes.
the average cost per mile per passenger is $2 on buses, because so many
No.
of them, like you say, so many of them are traveling with only 5 people or with 7 people.
Wow.
And yeah, so all in,
$2.
according to Grok, it's $2 per passenger per mile. And
Oh, per passenger? Nah, that's crazy.
passenger
That
per
can't be
mile.
right.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
can't be right.
yeah.
That
And
can't be right. That's too
well, I don't know. We can ask Grok again later. That's what Grok said. The other thing that Grok said was that the throughput on vehicles would be higher than it is on buses. So we commonly think of the buses being a great idea because, you'll get more passengers per mile going down the street, than you do with cars. Turns out, no, that's also not correct. That because the buses have to stop and start and load and unload and all the rest of that, it actually could, if you had on demand, what you were just talking about a minute ago, on demand vehicles that were picking people up and dropping them off along a route would be, one way to do it, or possibly, as you said, for people that are that don't have the same means as the rest of us. Maybe they can get a bus or get an autonomous vehicle pass, from the city at a reduced rate. But we know that even a Model Y is ultimately going to be about 40 cents a mile to put out there. So at 40 cents a mile, that's going to be a big savings.
It doesn't matter. The cost per mile, I think, doesn't matter in an area where you just don't have the ridership.
Right.
You reach a point where, because again, the cost of acquisition, even if you buy a shuttle bus, you're talking 100, 200, 300 grand. And a shuttle bus is probably the smallest they'd go. I don't think they'd send somebody out in a personal car or even a van pool kind of car. I think that the real savings comes from not paying the upfront, but of course not paying a driver. So yeah, I think the whole idea is great. I would say it's ahead of its time, except that we've been talking about it for years. It's just that the technology has finally caught up.
And so as much as I was all excited about electric buses here in the United States, and I forget that company name now, that was an ex-Tesla employee that, tried to get an electric bus company going, but it failed in the United States, I'm talking about. And but the electric bus thing is pretty big over in China and in Europe. You've got BYD. That's one of their biggest businesses, probably even profitable. And so the electric bus business could be a big deal. You have some information on that out of Kathmandu.
I do. So of course, fares here are quite low, which means how do you afford a bus in the first place? The answer is you go out to bid and you keep your expectations realistic. So they're not buying $500,000 buses. They're buying, and I'm not even joking, $65,000 buses.
Wow.
They are from China and they are rickety. But they went out, they got a grant to make a conversion, but they also bought some of their own. So this particular company, which is a public-private partnership, but it's mostly government-run because there's no money in it. In this partnership, they went out and bought 20 buses. And they said, we need 20 buses. We need 5-year service included. And we need, this kind of 60 capacity of 60 standing up, 32 sitting down. They got that. And they got these buses for $87,000. They have about 200 kilometers of range. So what would that be? 120 miles of range, which is fine because they're city buses and they don't go anywhere. I mean, they just very small area. And these buses work. The thing is, and you can make your money back in 3 to 5 years because diesel is $6 a gallon. And the overnight charging rate here is 3.3 pennies per kilowatt.
Wow.
Oh, so I don't need to do any more math. You can connect all those dots from here. So the problem with it is the company's done all the maintenance on the buses, They don't know how to fix the buses. They haven't been taught. It's not their job. So they're very concerned that when the warranty ends, then what? Now what? Do we pay them to fix them? We can't, because we've got a whole bus depot where we repair buses all day. So they got a grant from the European Union. European Union went out to a bunch of poor countries, poor cities, and said, we're going to pay you to do diesel to electric conversion as long as you share with us the method, the process, and the results.
Yeah.
And so the gentleman I spoke with, who is an engineer, was given the task of doing the conversion, and he was thrilled. They bought a conversion kit. They took a bus that was 16 years old, pulled out all the diesel, put in all the stuff they needed, had to engineer some new solutions for like the vacuum pump for the brake system. And it has to be able to handle a 15% grade. If you don't know how steep that is, that's uncomfortable to walk up, but this country is all hills and mountains.
Yeah.
So they built it, and they're starting testing, road testing imminently. I got to ride in it. My editor got to drive it for a little bit. And the idea with that is not only will it be much cheaper, they already have the bus, they'll wait till a motor blows and then they'll convert it. That gives them a free bus, basically.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to convert it for maybe $20,000, $25,000 for a bus, for a whole bus, and they'll know how to fix it. So we got off on a tangent there. It's very exciting information.
No, I think these tangents are good. I remember at one of those auto shows that you and I attended, they had a whole section with people they had a whole section that were doing conversions of old vehicles. They were doing of classic vehicles. They were doing conversions of boats. And so the conversion market is something I don't think that gets enough attention. I think that this is going to be bigger and bigger as the cost of electric comes down.
Yeah, these are the problem with most conversions is it's a one-off, and a one-off is going to be expensive, prohibitively. There are shops. There's one in Eugene, Oregon, and they have a sister shop, the original shop in London, where they just have kits for a variety of cars. I think Land Rover's one. I think Beetle might be one. I don't remember all of them. Mini is definitely one. Where it's just they've done it so many times they can just blow it out and get it done. It's still expensive, but it's if you've got a car and you love it and the engine is dead, put in a little electric motor. Why not?
That's right. Sounds very, very cool. All right. Well, Brian, I'm sad about your sunburn. I'm in particular sad because it makes me look washed out. So with that said, thank you for calling in from Kathmandu, and thank you for always being on the show. Good luck with the rest of your trip. We'll be looking forward next week to hearing more reporting out of the auto show there. And then to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.